Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Shadowrun. I've been talking about the 4th edition of it. Let's continue our dive into the Matrix and the wireless world. Let's talk about VR. We talked about augmented reality, AR. Let's talk about going full VR, virtual reality, where you're beginning to replace your senses, your meat body's senses, with the senses that are being the sim sense of the Matrix, of the virtual world. Where any kind of senses you'd normally have are replaced with these basically fake ones. That's the easiest way of thinking about it. That I'm beginning to have all of my 5 senses be replaced by whatever the Matrix is telling me. I'm going full VR. Now, you're going to need a SimSense module if you want to dive into the Matrix like this using VR. This is an accessory for comlinks that you can get, or that you'd use either through a data jack or TrodeNet. Sim rigs also usually contain a SimSense module. All these can either be internalized or be exterior. It means the difference between having cyberware installed in you and not cyberware installed in you. Whenever you go full VR, basically it overrides the motor controls of your body, your physical body, so it goes limp. The point of this being that you wouldn't be thrashing around and hurting yourself while in the virtual world. Now, you can attempt to basically use your real-world senses while in virtual reality. It's just difficult to do, not impossible. You don't really have to make a check, but the distraction of VR gives you a -6 to any perception dice pool tests while you're attempting this. So it's really distracting and hard to actually focus on the real world when you're going in virtual. It is popular for several reasons. First off, you visit fantastical, amazing, realistic areas that you can just go to at the drop of a hat. Places that you can explore that you could never in the real world. Also, anonymity. It's very easy to get a lot of shady deals there because you're not recognizing, you're not that face-to-face kind of contact with people. VR sex is also just as good as the real thing. Important thing to note, and you have to worry about your partners as much because, hey, it's only virtual. On a more platonic note, the sky's the limit on your imagination. You can sculpt VR landscapes. You can create fantastical areas of your own imagination, far beyond anything you could even mess around with in real life. Fantastic locations you can just craft out of the virtual landscape. It opens it up to this artistic level. Now, VR is where technomancers feel at home. They always have this kind of unusual feeling when they're outside of VR, even when they're using augmented reality. They just don't feel like it's natural. It's just a part of them. Hackers love VR because it speeds things up for them when they're attempting to basically hack. It makes it that it's easier for them to get a lot of their jobs done within VR. And just like in AR, they can access multiple nodes at once. Now, when we're talking virtual reality, the difference between that and augmented reality, the first one, speed. Things go much faster. In the augmented reality, you're still dealing with your physical body combined with your mind. In virtual reality, it's your mind alone. Now, generally speaking, most people are just using the general sim rigs you can get, the general SimSense modules. This is cold sim, is what it's called. But hackers have been known to tinker a little bit and open up things into a version called hot sim, which removes some of the protections they have against biofeedback. They basically open up themselves to some neurological trauma if they're not careful. Now, as I said, cold sim, just normal one that you'd have, is the general one you're going to have. Most kind of rigs are going to send you into that, and that is the legal one. You're moving around at the speed of thought. You're no longer connected to your flesh. You use Matrix Initiative instead of your physical initiative, which Matrix Initiative is equal to the response of what you're using plus your intuition. And you get one extra initiative pass when you're in cold sim, for a total of 2. Hot sim, on the other hand, hot sim, you do open yourself up to greater speeds, but at the expense that you remove some of the defensive biofeedback filters that are built into the system. The system is made to protect you from a level of information going into you. By removing those filters, For one thing, you open yourself up to the attacks of black ice. You're vulnerable to their more deadly effects then, but also you do increase that speed. If you want to do this to your own rig, you can use a hardware plus logic extended test where you have to get 10 successes, 1 hour for every check. The thing about hot sim is you open yourself up to better than real life conditions that you can encounter them. You can encounter them and experience them. That's one of those things the filters are meant to protect you from. That everything feels like reality. When it feels better than reality, well, but hackers rely on it because of these increases. You see that it once again uses its matrix initiative instead of physical, but it becomes your response plus intuition plus 1 for matrix initiative, and you get 2 additional initiative passes for a total of 3. The other big thing is you get +2 to all your matrix tests, related tests, while you're in hot sim. So it basically gives you a dice pool bonus also beyond all the extra speed you're getting. It's important to note that hot sim can be just as addictive as BTLs, better than life sim modules. Basically things that make you feel like you should be it. So it is very addictive. And if you have repeated use of hot sim, your game master might call for you to make an addiction test. Because guess what? The more you use it, the more you want to use it. The more you want to feel that rush. Now, switching between altered reality and virtual reality, it's a free action. Also, switching between hot sim and cold sim is also a free action if you have the option of hot sim, if you've been modified your comlink to allow that. Now, if you should be in altered reality and switch to VR, you don't gain any extra initiative passes if this is in the middle of a combat turn. Just because you switch, you don't get those extra passes. Same retrospect, if you leave VR and either go into AR or your meat body, any extra initiative passes you got from being in VR also go away. So you can see how you can't cheat the system for alternate passes there. So, that's it for today. I introduced you to VR, virtual reality. I talked about diving in there and why you might want to dive in there. The different levels of it, from your cold sim, the general one, to your hot sim. What it means to be using those, and some of the reasons that anybody might want to use VR. Kind of talked about how you get online, so to say, in VR also, and what it means to your body to use these different types of it. In the next episode, I'm going to dive into VR matrix perception tests, and then I'm going to move into cyber combat. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just for the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you go check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.